She pretended to be dead just to see how much he loved her. What happened next will leave you speechless. A story of heartbreak, forgiveness, and love that refused to give up. Will he prove his love? Or will secrets tear them apart forever? Watch the emotional journey unfold in the streets of Kingston. The evening sun slid behind the crowded skyline of Kingston, painting the buildings gold and orange. Amelia Thompson, a bright young woman with gentle eyes, sat by the window of her small apartment, staring at her reflection. Her heart was restless. Her fiancé, Michael Harris, had been acting strange for weeks, late replies, late nights, and whispers over the phone when she entered the room. Her cousin Ruth had told her, if a man's love is real, test it. Pretend to be gone, and you'll know who he truly is. Amelia's mind fought the idea, but her heart, heavy with doubt, said yes. That night, she planned everything. She texted Michael, "I'm going away for a while. Please don't worry about me." But deep down, she wanted to see if he would worry. At dawn, she left her apartment unlocked, spilled a cup of water near the doorway, and placed her phone on the floor as if she had fallen. She vanished to Ruth's house across the city. News spread fast. Her neighbor found the open door and called the police. By noon, the street buzzed with talk. "That young lady from apartment 5, they say she's gone." Michael arrived in tears. His voice broke as he shouted, "Where is she? Somebody tell me she's alive." But Ruth watched secretly from a taxi across the street. "Let's see what true love looks like," she whispered. Michael fell to his knees beside the doorway. His hands trembled as he touched her scarf on the floor. His face turned pale. He whispered, "Amelia, I should have told you everything." Ruth gasped. "What does he mean by everything?" As the police questioned him, Michael confessed something that made everyone silent. "She found out I was planning to leave Kingston for good, not because I stopped loving her, but because I wanted to fix my life first. I was going to surprise her with a wedding when I returned." The officer looked at him confused. "So you weren't running from her?" Michael shook his head. Tears rolled down his face. "I was running toward a future for us." Ruth's hands covered her mouth. "Oh no," she whispered. That evening, Amelia sat in Ruth's living room, staring at the TV news, showing Michael outside her apartment, broken and crying. Her heart shattered. "I wanted to test love," she said softly, "but I'm the one who failed the test." The next morning, in Ruth's apartment, silence hung thick like fog. Amelia hadn't slept. The sound of passing taxis and street vendors shouting, "Patties, fresh patties," drifted through the open window, but her mind was far away. Ruth entered quietly with 2 cups of tea. "Amelia, you should eat something," she said softly. Amelia shook her head. "I can't." The way he cried, I thought he didn't care anymore. Ruth sighed and sat beside her. "You were scared, I understand. But pretending to die, that's a dangerous game. Now look, the whole of Kingston is talking about you." Amelia looked at the TV again. Reporters still stood near her building. Michael was nowhere to be seen now. "He said he was planning a surprise wedding," Amelia whispered. "Do you believe that?" "I don't know," Ruth replied. "But the tears I saw on that man's face weren't fake." Amelia covered her face with her hands. "I need to fix this before it gets worse." But just as she stood, her cousin's phone buzzed. It was a message from Michael. "They can't find her body. I'm going to the harbor. I'll keep looking until I find her." Ruth froze. "He's still searching, Amelia. That man hasn't gone home since yesterday." Amelia's breath caught. Guilt filled her chest. "Oh God, What have I done? She grabbed her bag. I'm going to find him. Ruth held her arm. You can't just appear out of nowhere. He might collapse. You have to do it the right way. But Amelia was done hiding. She put on a long coat and stepped into the busy Kingston street. The noise, the heat, the smell of jerked chicken in the air, all felt unreal. Every sound carried the weight of her mistake. Down by the Kingston harbor, Michael stood near the water, holding a photo of her. His eyes were red, and his clothes soaked with sea mist. A fisherman nearby said, "Boss, maybe she gone far." Sometimes, love breaks people. Michael shook his head. No, I'd feel it if she was truly gone. He knelt and whispered into the waves. Amelia, forgive me. I was just trying to be better for us. At that moment, Amelia appeared at the edge of the dock, her heart pounding. Michael, she called softly. He turned, and for a second, the world froze. His face went blank, then pale, then filled with both shock and joy. He stumbled forward. Amelia, you're alive? She nodded, tears streaming. I'm sorry, Michael. I just wanted to know if you truly loved me. Michael stepped closer, shaking his head in disbelief. You wanted to know? His voice cracked. I went 3 days without sleep. I thought I lost you forever. Amelia, love doesn't need proof. It needs trust. Amelia cried harder. I know I made a terrible mistake. He turned away, breathing heavily, fists clenched. The fisherman watched silently from afar, whispering, this kind of love, either it breaks or it becomes stronger. After a long pause, Michael faced her again. His eyes were softer now. I don't know if I can forgive you today, he said, but I'm glad you're alive. Maybe that's enough. For now the waves crashed quietly between them. The city behind them glowed with the colors of evening. And for the first time, Amelia saw how much pain her lie had caused. She whispered, I thought I was testing you, but I tested my own heart. Michael picked up the photo that had fallen near his feet and placed it in her hand. Keep it, he said. Next time, don't disappear. Talk to me. As he walked away, Amelia stood by the water, the wind tugging her hair. Her heart ached, but somewhere inside, a seed of understanding began to grow. Because love built on truth lasts longer than love tested by lies. The night breeze swept softly through Kingston's narrow streets as Amelia walked back toward her apartment. The sky was dark, dotted with restless clouds, and the streetlights flickered like shy fireflies. Her feet dragged slowly along the pavement. Every step echoed her regret. Michael's words still burned in her heart. Love doesn't need proof. It needs trust. She had thought she would feel peace after seeing him, but instead she felt smaller, like a shadow in her own story. When she reached her apartment building, the police tape was gone. The crowd had disappeared. Everything looked quiet again. Too quiet. She hesitated at the door, her hand trembling on the knob. Ruth was right, she whispered. Some games cost too much. The door creaked open. The air inside was cold. The spilled cup had dried, and her phone still lay where she left it. But something was different, a faint smell of cologne. On the table sat a white envelope. Her name was written on it in bold letters. Amelia Thompson. Her heart skipped. Who left this here? She picked it up slowly. The handwriting wasn't hers, and it wasn't Michael's. Inside the envelope was a letter. The first line made her knees weak. Amelia, if you're reading this, then it means my secret is out. I didn't want you to find out this way. She read faster, her eyes wide. I left Kingston not just for work, but because I found out something that could destroy you. Someone close to you betrayed your family, and I wanted to fix it before telling you. Her hands shook. What? What is this? Just then the sound of a door closing echoed in the hallway. She turned quickly, her heart racing. Who's there? No reply. Only footsteps fading away. Amelia rushed to the window and looked out. A shadow disappeared into a black car that drove off into the night. She clutched the letter tighter, fear mixing with confusion. What does he mean? Someone betrayed my family? She called Ruth. Come quick. There's something you need to see. Minutes later, Ruth arrived, panting. Amelia handed her the letter. Ruth read in silence, her face growing pale. This isn't Michael's handwriting, Ruth said softly. And look here, the bottom corner. There's a small logo. Amelia looked closely. It was faint, like a watermark. The mark of Harper and Sons, a private law firm in downtown Kingston. Why would a lawyer write me this? She whispered. Ruth bit her lip. Maybe it's not a lawyer. Maybe it's someone who works for one. Amelia felt the room spin. You think Michael knew something? Ruth nodded slowly. He said he was leaving Kingston to fix his life. Maybe this is what he meant. Amelia sank onto the couch, her head in her hands. I thought I was losing him, but maybe he was protecting me all along. Ruth placed a hand on her shoulder. Then we have to find out the truth, before it's too late. Outside, thunder rolled over Kingston's skyline, and rain began to fall. Amelia held the letter close to her chest. Tomorrow, she whispered, I'll go to that law firm. And deep inside, she knew this was no longer just a test of love. It was the beginning of a truth that could break everything she thought she knew. Morning light spilled across the bustling streets of downtown Kingston. Cars honked, vendors shouted, and the city was awake with noise and motion. But Amelia Thompson walked through it all like a ghost, quiet, focused, her heart beating fast beneath her blouse. Clutched in her hand was the envelope. The name printed faintly on the corner still haunted her, Harper and Sons Law Firm. She whispered to herself, this is where I'll find the truth. The building was tall and glassy, with polished floors that reflected her trembling steps. Inside, the cool air smelled like paper and perfume. A receptionist looked up with a polite smile. Good morning, ma'am. Do you have an appointment? Amelia hesitated. No, but I received this letter. She slid the envelope across the counter. The woman's eyes widened slightly. She picked up the phone. One moment, please. Amelia waited, clutching her bag, her stomach tight with unease. After a few minutes, a tall man in a dark blue suit appeared. He had gentle eyes, but carried the weight of authority. I'm Mr. Lewis Harper, he said calmly. Please, come with me. Inside his office, sunlight filtered through tall blinds. Piles of files sat neatly on his desk. Mr. Harper gestured to a chair. You received that letter yesterday? Yes, Amelia said softly. It was in my apartment. I don't know who left it there. It mentioned betrayal, and my fiancé, Michael Harris, Mr. Harper, leaned forward. Then, I believe you deserve to know everything. He opened a drawer and pulled out another file, marked Confidential, Family Trust. Inside were photos, her late father, her mother, and a younger Michael. Amelia's breath caught. Michael, with my father? Mr. Harper nodded slowly. Your father hired Michael years ago to manage a property deal in Montego Bay. But before your father passed, there was a financial error. Someone took money from your family's business. Her voice shook. You mean Michael? No, Harper said firmly. Michael tried to fix it. The one who took the money was someone close, a person your father trusted completely. Amelia frowned. Who? Harper sighed deeply. Your cousin, Ruth. Amelia froze. No, that can't be true. Harper turned the file around. Inside was a signed document, Ruth's name on a loan transfer linked to her father's company. She didn't mean harm at first, he continued. Your cousin borrowed the money hoping to invest in her business, but she couldn't return it in time. Your father found out days before he died. Michael promised to recover the funds quietly so your family name wouldn't be stained. Amelia's hands trembled. So, that's why he left Kingston? Yes, Harper said. He wanted to bring back what was lost, to protect both of you. Tears filled her eyes. Every heartbeat was a wave of guilt. And I thought he was lying to me. Mr. Harper handed her another envelope. He left this here for you, in case you ever came. Amelia opened it with shaking hands. Inside was Michael's handwriting. My love, if you're reading this, it means you finally looked for the truth. I didn't want to tell you until I fixed everything. Ruth made a mistake, and I promised your father I'd make it right. Please don't hate her. Protect her, the way I've been protecting you. Tears streamed down Amelia's cheeks. He loved me even when I doubted him. Mr. Harper stood quietly, letting her cry. Sometimes love speaks loudest in silence, he said softly. Amelia wiped her tears. I have to face Ruth. She stood, her heart heavier but clearer than it had ever been. The truth hurt, but it also freed her. As she walked out of the office, the sun broke through the Kingston clouds, shining directly on her face. For the first time, she wasn't running from guilt. She was walking toward forgiveness. The evening wind blew softly through Kingston's halfway tree district. The air smelled of roasted corn, car horns, and sea salt drifting from the coast. Amelia stood outside a small restaurant called Golden Bay Diner, her hand trembling around her phone. She had just read the message, Meet me at sunset. I owe you the truth. Ruth. She waited, heart thudding like a slow drum. The orange sun slipped behind the buildings, painting the glass windows gold. When Ruth appeared, she looked nothing like the confident, playful friend Amelia used to know. Her eyes were swollen from crying, her clothes wrinkled. Ruth, Amelia said softly. Ruth froze for a second, then whispered, You found out, didn't you? Amelia's lips trembled. You took money from my father's trust, and you used Michael to hide it? Ruth looked down, tears dripping silently. I didn't mean to hurt you, Amelia. I was drowning in debt. My brother needed surgery, and I was desperate. Mr. Harper warned me, but I dragged Michael into it. Amelia's face twisted in pain. So he knew. Ruth shook her head. Not at first. When he found out, he wanted to tell you, but I begged him not to. He thought if he confessed, you'd never forgive him. So he kept silent to protect me. Silence fell. Only the sound of the ocean breeze filled the space between them. Amelia felt her chest tighten, her anger battling her compassion. Why didn't you just tell me? She asked, her voice breaking. Ruth sobbed. Because I was ashamed. You were the one person I couldn't lie to. But I did. And now, I've lost everything. Amelia looked at her old friend. The same girl who once shared laughter, secrets, and dreams. She wanted to hate her, But the tears on Ruth's face reminded her of her own weakness, of how love and fear could twist good hearts. After a long pause, Amelia said quietly, "You've done wrong, Ruth, but hiding it won't fix it. You need to make things right. Not for me, but for yourself." Ruth nodded slowly. "I will. I'll go to Mr. Harper and confess. I'll clear Michael's name." The sun finally disappeared, and the streetlights flickered on. The two women stood in silence, the golden glow turning blue. It was a moment of painful honesty, but also a step toward healing. As they parted ways, Amelia whispered, "Truth may break hearts, but it also sets them free." And for the first time in days, she felt a strange peace rising in her chest, a whisper that maybe, just maybe, forgiveness was still possible. The night air in New Kingston was cool and restless. Cars hissed by, headlights sliding across wet streets after a short rain. Amelia stood outside Michael's apartment, clutching her small purse tightly. Every step she took toward the gate felt heavier than the last. She had rehearsed 100 things to say, but when she finally saw him open the door, all her words disappeared. "Amelia?" Michael's voice was soft, shocked. You're here?" Amelia nodded slowly. "We need to talk." He stepped aside silently. The small living room smelled of instant coffee and rain. Papers and music sheets covered the table, a reminder of his dreams before everything went wrong. For a moment, they just stared at each other, the silence loud enough to break hearts. "Ruth told me everything," Amelia said finally, "about the money, about how you tried to protect her." Michael lowered his head. "I didn't want you to find out like this." "Then why didn't you just tell me the truth?" she demanded, her voice trembling. "You let me believe you betrayed me." He took a deep breath. "Because I was scared, Amelia. Scared that the truth would destroy what we had. I thought I was doing the right thing, helping her, keeping you safe from pain." Amelia's eyes filled with tears. "You thought lying would protect me?" Michael looked up, eyes red and raw. "I thought love meant sacrifice. But now I see, love without honesty is just fear in disguise." Those words hung in the air like rain clouds about to burst. Amelia's anger melted into sorrow. She could see it in his face. The regret, the weight he carried, the sleepless nights. He reached into a drawer and pulled out a small envelope. "This is the last of the money Ruth took. I've been repaying it bit by bit. I was planning to confess once it was all done." Amelia stared at the envelope, then at him. "Why didn't you let me help?" He smiled faintly, brokenly. "Because you were my light. I couldn't let you see me in the dark." Tears slipped down Amelia's face. She stepped closer, whispering, "Michael, I pretended to be dead just to see how you'd react. I wanted to know if you ever truly loved me." He froze, shocked. "You... what?" Her lips trembled. "But now I see. You didn't need to prove it. You've been suffering because of love all along." Michael took a deep breath, his voice shaking. "And I would do it again, Amelia, even if it meant losing everything." For a long time, neither spoke. Only the sound of rain tapping the window filled the room. Then Amelia slowly reached out, taking his hand. "I don't know if we can go back," she said softly, "but maybe we can start again." Michael nodded, eyes glistening. "That's all I've ever wanted." Outside, the rain finally stopped. A soft breeze carried the smell of wet soil and new beginnings. Inside that small Kingston apartment, two broken hearts began to heal. not with promises, but with truth. Morning broke gently over Kingston, soft sunlight touching the soaked rooftops after a night of rain. The streets buzzed again with life, vendors calling out, taxis honking, music drifting from a corner shop. Inside Michael's small apartment, the quiet was heavy but peaceful. Amelia stood by the window, watching the city move below. Her voice was calm but uncertain. Michael, if we're really starting again, we can't keep this between us. Ruth needs to make things right, and so do we. Michael nodded slowly, his face serious. You're right. Mr. Harper deserves to hear the truth from us both. A nervous silence lingered. They both knew what that meant, facing the past together. Later that morning, they walked side by side through New Kingston, heading toward the Harper and Sons law office. The air was humid, the smell of roasted coffee and fresh rain mixing around them. It wasn't just a walk, it was a test of courage. People glanced at them as they passed. Two lovers trying to rebuild what truth had almost destroyed. When they arrived, Mr. Harper was already waiting in his office, calm as ever. Ruth sat opposite him, her eyes swollen, a box of tissues on the desk. Amelia. Michael, Ruth whispered, her voice weak. I didn't think you'd come. Amelia took a seat beside Michael. We didn't come to blame you, she said softly. We came to put an end to this. Ruth's tears fell freely. I've confessed everything to Mr. Harper. I'll repay what I took. I never meant for any of this to happen. Mr. Harper folded his hands. The law can punish wrongdoing, but truth and repentance can restore what money cannot. I see repentance here, in all of you. Michael turned to Ruth. You don't owe me forgiveness. You owe yourself peace. Make things right, and don't run from your mistakes. Ruth nodded, weeping. I will. You both deserve happiness. I'll make it right, even if it takes me years. Amelia reached over and held Ruth's hand, the same friend who once betrayed her. For the first time in months, she didn't feel bitterness, only relief. I forgive you, she said softly. Not because it's easy, but because I need to move on. Tears rolled down Ruth's cheeks as the morning sun broke through the window, lighting their faces in gold. Mr. Harper smiled faintly. Forgiveness is the highest justice. When they stepped out of the office, Kingston felt different. The wind was lighter, the sky clearer. Michael turned to Amelia and whispered, We did it. She smiled through tears. No, Michael, we survived it. As they walked down the steps, their hands brushed, and this time neither pulled away. The sound of the city around them felt like music again. Their story wasn't over, but the worst part was behind them. The truth had broken them apart, but forgiveness was slowly stitching them back together. 2 weeks had passed since the meeting at Harper and Sons. The city of Kingston had returned to its rhythm. Sun on rooftops, laughter in the markets, music in the air. Inside a small cafe on Hope Road, Amelia and Michael sat across from each other, smiling again like old times. It felt almost normal. Almost. Feels good to breathe again, Amelia said softly, stirring her tea. Michael smiled faintly. It feels good to see you smile again. They spoke of plans, maybe moving to a quieter place, maybe starting something new. For the first time, their dreams didn't sound impossible, but peace in Kingston never lasted long. As they stepped outside, a sleek black car pulled up near the curb. The door opened, and a tall woman stepped out, elegant, sharp, confident. Her name was Vanessa Brown. Michael froze. The color drained from his face. Michael? Amelia asked quietly. Who is she? Vanessa smiled faintly, her red lipstick catching the sunlight. I see you've moved on. Amelia frowned. Moved on from what? Michael's silence said it all. The air between them tightened like a stretched wire. Michael, Vanessa said softly, you didn't tell her about us, did you? Amelia's world tilted. Us? Michael tried to speak, but his words stumbled. It was before you, Amelia. I swear. But she's the reason I went into debt. The reason Ruth got involved. Amelia stepped back, her heart pounding. You mean all this started because of her? Vanessa's expression softened. I never meant for things to go this far. But Michael borrowed money from me, money he couldn't pay back. When I came to collect, Ruth made a deal with me behind his back. That deal is what started it all. Amelia's eyes filled with disbelief. So it wasn't just betrayal. It was a chain of lies. From everyone, Michael's voice broke. I didn't want to bring her back into this. I was trying to protect you. Again, Amelia looked at him with tears rising. Michael, how many times will love mean hiding the truth? Vanessa sighed deeply. I didn't come to ruin you. I came to set things straight. The debt's cleared. I've moved on. You should too. She turned, her heels clicking against the pavement, leaving silence behind her like an echo. Amelia and Michael stood there. The noise of Kingston surrounding them, horns, laughter, wind, but between them, only silence. Amelia whispered, You say you love me, Michael, but love isn't a wall of secrets. It's supposed to be open, like the sky. He swallowed hard, nodding. You're right. I've been holding on to guilt for too long. I'll never hide again. No more secrets. The tension broke, replaced by a fragile peace. She looked at him, really looked, and saw not a perfect man, but a wounded one learning how to love honestly. Amelia sighed softly. Then maybe this time, we both start with nothing but the truth. Michael smiled faintly. I can live with that. They walked together down the road, hand in hand, past the hum of the city. Their love tested again, but not destroyed, because love, when it's real, learns to rise after every storm. 2 months had passed since Vanessa's visit. Kingston had entered its dry season, hot air, golden skies, and evenings filled with laughter from street corners. Amelia and Michael had moved into a small apartment near Halfway Tree, a modest place filled with light, peace, and the scent of new beginnings. They cooked together, walked together, and prayed together. For the first time, love felt honest. Then, one afternoon, a plain brown envelope slid under their door. Michael was in the kitchen when Amelia picked it up. There was no name, no address, only a red stamp on the back that read, Private. Michael, she called softly, someone sent us a letter. He came out, wiped his hands on a towel, and froze the moment he saw it. His face changed. That old fear, the same look he had when Vanessa appeared. Who sent this? She asked. I'm not sure, he said quietly. But his voice trembled. Amelia hesitated, then tore the envelope open. Inside was a short, handwritten note. The ink was neat, the tone calm. Michael, there's something you never told Amelia. Meet me tomorrow at the pier near Harbour View. She deserves the truth. Before it's too late. Amelia's hands shook as she read it. She looked up at him, her heart pounding. Vanessa? Michael's voice broke. I thought she left Kingston for good. Then what truth is she talking about? Amelia asked, tears rising. He said nothing. His silence spoke louder than words. That night, the city outside was alive. Music, laughter, car horns, but their apartment was heavy with silence. Amelia lay awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering how many layers of truth love could survive. She remembered Mr. Harper's words. Forgiveness without truth is only a pause before another storm. The next morning, she woke before dawn. She dressed quietly, her mind set. If Michael couldn't face it, she would. At sunrise, she reached Harborview Pier, the air salty and still. The sea stretched endlessly before her, the sun rising like hope, struggling through pain. Then she saw Vanessa, standing near the water, holding an old envelope. "I didn't mean to bring pain again," Vanessa said softly as Amelia approached. "But you need to see this." She handed her the envelope. Inside was a photograph. An old one. It showed Michael, years younger, standing beside a little boy, maybe 4 or 5 years old. Amelia looked up, speechless. "Who is this child?" Vanessa took a deep breath. "Michael's son." Amelia's heart shattered in silence. The sea roared behind her. Her knees felt weak. "His son?" "Yes," Vanessa said quietly, "before he met you. He kept it secret because the boy's mother lives abroad. He sends money every month. He was afraid you'd see him as dishonest. But I couldn't carry this secret anymore." Tears streamed down Amelia's face. He looked me in the eye and said, "No more secrets." "I know," Vanessa said gently, "but I'm not here to destroy him. I just want you to understand that love isn't only what people show, it's also what they hide." Amelia clutched the photo against her chest. "He should have trusted me." Vanessa nodded. "Yes, but maybe now you can teach him what trust really means." The camera of life panned wide, the two women standing by the ocean, waves crashing behind them, truth heavy in the air. That evening, Amelia returned home silently. Michael sat waiting, his face pale. He saw the photo in her hand, and everything broke. "Amelia, shh," he whispered. Her voice trembled. "You had a son, Michael. Why didn't you tell me?" Tears fell down his face. "I was ashamed. I thought you'd leave. I wanted to start fresh, to forget the past." She turned away, heart torn. "Love doesn't grow in lies, Michael. You can't build a home while hiding a child." He fell to his knees. "I'm sorry. I was trying to protect you." She looked at him, tears glistening in her eyes, and said softly, "Maybe what love really needs isn't protection, but honesty." She walked to the balcony, gazing out at the Kingston skyline, glowing orange in the evening sun. Behind her, Michael wept quietly. The sea wind carried Vanessa's words through her mind again. Love isn't only what people show, it's what they hide. 3 days had passed since Amelia found out the truth. The house felt quieter than ever, too quiet for love, too heavy for words. Michael sat on the couch every night, hoping she would speak. Amelia cooked, cleaned, and prayed, but her eyes never met his. The photograph of the little boy lay on the table between them, like a wound that refused to close. Michael's voice broke the silence. "I didn't mean to lie. I was scared of losing you." Amelia turned to him slowly, her voice soft but firm. "You didn't lie to protect me, Michael. You lied to protect yourself." He lowered his head. "You're right." The clock ticked on. Outside, Kingston's traffic buzzed faintly, life moving while their hearts stood still. That evening, Amelia went to the balcony. The sky was painted gold and red. She spoke without turning around. "I need to leave for a while." Michael stood. "Leave?" "Yes," she said, her tone steady. "Not forever. Just time to think. Time to find myself again. I forgave you, Michael, But my heart is tired. I can't keep healing from wounds you give me. He stepped closer. Amelia, please. I'll do anything. She faced him, tears in her eyes. Then let me go. If you truly love me, don't chase me this time. He froze. The weight of her words sank deep. For the first time, he understood that love wasn't about holding on. It was about letting go when holding hurts. The next morning, she packed a small bag. The Harper family's old guest house in Stony Hill had been empty for years, and Mr. Harper had once told her she could visit if she ever needed peace. Before leaving, she placed the photograph on the table, the picture of Michael and his son. Underneath it, she wrote a small note. Tell him the truth early. Don't let him grow up learning that love hides. Michael found the note after she left. He sat down slowly, tears falling quietly. He whispered to himself, I'll become the man she can believe in again. Meanwhile, Amelia rode a taxi uphill towards Stony Hill. The road curved through green hills and small houses. The air was cooler, softer, almost like another world away from Kingston's noise. When she reached the guest house, she exhaled deeply. The quiet surrounded her like a hug she didn't know she needed. For the first time in weeks, she smiled. A weak, honest smile. She pulled out her small notebook and began to write. Love is not punishment. It is a mirror. And sometimes, walking away isn't giving up. It's giving both hearts a chance to see clearly. As the sun set behind the hills, Amelia stood by the window, watching fireflies dance outside. Her voice, narrator style, whispered softly, Love demands truth. But sometimes, it also demands distance. The sound of children playing outside echoed through the narrow lanes of Kingston. The city felt the same, noisy, alive, stubborn. But Michael had changed. His shoulders no longer carried pride, they carried lessons. He had moved to a smaller place near Crossroads, working quietly as a music tutor at a youth center. It was his way of starting again, not to win Amelia back, but to become the kind of man she once believed he could be. Every evening after work, he'd sit under a mango tree in the courtyard, watching the children laugh. There was one boy who always caught his eye, the same boy in the photograph, his son Liam, though the boy didn't know it. Michael had promised himself not to disturb his world until the time was right. But fate doesn't wait for readiness. One Saturday afternoon, the center organized a small music event. Michael was helping the children set up instruments when Liam walked up, holding a small drum. Sir, can you show me how to play this? Michael froze. The voice, the curiosity, they were pieces of himself reborn. He smiled faintly. Of course, little man. Let's start with the heartbeat rhythm. As the boy played, the sound drew a small crowd. Even Amelia, who had come quietly to drop off supplies for the youth center, stopped at the entrance. Her eyes softened when she saw the two together, father and son, unaware of what destiny was doing. Michael guided Liam's hands, gently correcting his rhythm. Good. You feel that? That's the sound of your heart leading, the boy grinned. Mom says the heart never lies. Michael's chest tightened. Those words, they were Amelia's long ago. He looked up and saw her standing there, eyes glistening. Amelia, he whispered. She nodded slowly, emotions swelling. You kept your promise. You didn't hide this time. The air between them felt sacred. The city noise faded. All that remained was truth. I didn't come here to ask for another chance, Michael said softly. I came to make peace. I just wanted him to know something good came from my mistakes. Amelia studied him, tears gathering. He already knows, Michael. He feels it every time he plays. They stood there, neither moving, both understanding. Some wounds don't close by forgetting. They close when you finally forgive. That evening, as the sun dropped over Kingston Harbour, Amelia watched Liam playing with other kids while Michael packed up instruments. He no longer seemed like the man who once lied. He was the man who learned. "Michael," she called. He turned, expectant. "Would you like to come by for dinner? He keeps asking about his music teacher." Michael smiled, well, not with pride, but with peace. "I'd like that." As they walked toward the street, side by side but not holding hands, the breeze carried the scent of mango trees and distant laughter. They didn't speak. They didn't need to. For the first time in a long time, both were walking in truth. A full year had passed since the day Amelia invited Michael for dinner. Kingston had changed. Or maybe it was them who had changed. The streets were still busy, the music still loud, the sunsets still golden. But now, peace lived between them. Michael didn't move back in. He visited often, helped Liam with schoolwork, repaired broken things around the house, and shared silent dinners where words were few but hearts were full. They had rebuilt something, not romance, not yet, but respect, trust, and a gentle friendship. And in that space, love slowly found its way back, step by step. One evening, the three of them sat on the porch of Amelia's home in Stony Hill, watching the fireflies blink against the fading Kingston skyline. Liam was dozing off in Michael's lap, his head resting against his father's arm. "Do you ever think about the past?" Amelia asked softly. Michael nodded. "Every day, but I don't live there anymore." She smiled faintly. "Good. Because the man sitting here now isn't the one I left." For a long while, neither said anything. The night breeze whispered through the trees. In the distance, someone played slow reggae on a radio. The city seemed to hum with life. Simple, forgiving, steady. "Amelia," Michael began carefully, "I don't know what the future holds, but if ever there's space again in your heart for me, I'd like to fill it with better memories." She looked at him for a long time, really looked, and saw not the man who had lied, but the man who had learned. "Maybe," she said quietly, "love doesn't end. It just waits until we're ready to treat it right." Michael smiled, eyes shining. "Then I'll keep showing up until waiting turns into forever." A single tear rolled down her cheek. She didn't brush it away. Instead, she leaned slightly toward him, her voice almost a whisper. "You already have." At that moment, Liam stirred, half awake, mumbling, "Mom, Dad, are you still talking?" They both laughed softly, and for the first time in years, the laughter didn't feel forced. It felt like home. Later that night, after Michael carried Liam inside and tucked him into bed, Amelia stood by the window, looking out at Kingston's city lights. Michael came up beside her, quiet and humble. "Do you remember when we thought everything was over?" she asked. Michael nodded. "We were wrong. It was just beginning differently." The air between them was filled with quiet understanding, not passion, not regret, but peace. And as the moonlight poured into the room, Amelia reached for his hand. No grand promises, no conditions, just gratitude for the second chance they both earned. The next morning, the Kingston sun rose over the hills. Children's laughter filled the street. Amelia brewed tea, Michael strummed his old guitar, and Liam played his drum in rhythm. Together, they made music, the kind that doesn't ask for perfection, only harmony. Dear viewers, What lesson did you take away from this dramatic tale? We'd love to hear from your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed the story, give us a thumbs up, share it with your friends, and hit the subscriber button. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss out on our latest updates. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.